And the school here has I think, it's not cheap to have people come in as consultants to the school, but I think it's been important for the school to be looking at these kinds of things, and the only way you can do it is, again, the observation and the one-on-one training of teachers, which we're doing. The other thing is that we're using standardized tests, 2 of them. We're using the SCBE, the Social Competence Behavior Evaluation, which takes a look at how kids are behaving in the classroom. Either I'm getting along just fine, or I'm sort of withdrawing, isolated, we don't want that, so we're watching kids for that, or kids who are becoming aggressive. When you're stressed as a human being, we know that you're going to react in one of 3 ways. And that's for all human beings, you too. Just depending on your personality, you could become very aggressive, lash out. You can withdraw, I just don't want to talk about it, thank you anyway, and become very quiet about it. Or you become very clingy, and you get children that do that. They're aggressive in the classroom, they withdraw in the classroom, or they sort of hang around and become very dependent on an adult in the classroom. And what we want is for children to be comfortable in the classroom, so we're looking at all of those things. So we also then use teacher documentation, and we've got, the one thing, Nadia, that I'm really surprised about, and I hope it continues, but we've never had teachers who have said, I don't want to do that. Or grumble about assessment, because assessment takes a lot of time. So they're sitting in there in the teacher's training room after school, and they're doing a lot of that assessment. They're doing a lot of that assessment while children are in the classroom, and they've been very cooperative about it, because again, the school is more than just a school. It is a laboratory. It is a laboratory where we're looking at very intensely at children. And then the children's work samples tell us a great deal too. So we date work samples, and we look at them throughout the year for comparisons. Here's the sample that we're looking at in 2008 and 2009. We have right now 62 children that we're looking at in grades preschool through grade 1. We've got 30 males, 32 females. That worked out pretty well. And we have an age range of 3 to 7. We've got 17 nationalities, and of all of you sitting in this room, if your nationality is not reflected here, will you let me know? Yes?
India.
India. Okay, and I don't know why it is not, because you've signed up. I don't know why that's not. Do you have a child, by the way, in preschool or nursery? Nursery, that's why. That's why. Because this is just a description of. But we do have 2 children right now. So as you see the languages here, we've got Hindi. 1, and it's interesting because this is the older preschooler, and the younger, or the kindergarten child, and the younger one, the parents just listed him as English, not Hindi. So I don't know if he's learning Hindi now or not. He might just be learning English. But your child, as coming into the preschool next year, India will be listed then. Okay, ongoing foci then. We're looking at gender differences. I've looked at those for 20 years, and this, what we're finding here at 3 has really surprised me. We're also looking at behavioral differences, because the teachers, that's one of the findings statistically that we've noted, is that the teachers do rate these children differently in the Chinese versus the English classroom. We look at growth in language acquisition and teacher strategies to support language and social, emotional growth. So here's one finding that I think you'll be interested in. For 20 years, I've taken a look at boys versus girls, largely in first grade, and I've tested them all over the world. And what we usually find is that girls are way ahead of boys in terms of emerging reading, verbal abilities, and so on. And I've said for 20 years, give these boys a break, will you? I mean, it's not that you have to lock them up someplace until they're, you know, a year older than, and then start teaching them how to read. But we put a lot of pressure on boys because cognitively boys take a little bit longer, and that's up until age 24, by the way, in some areas of the brain. But what we found here when we took a look at, and I did all those observations on kids, is that, oh, holy smoke, we had a lot of gender differences. And it didn't go in the direction I thought it would go in. Girls were behind socially and emotionally in these classrooms. And this was at a time when very few of the kids spoke English or Chinese. We had a lot of kids come into the school and they didn't speak English and they didn't speak Chinese. So they were learning languages, and that was just a perfect time for me to look at this. But here's what I found. Girls were more inclined, because girls rely so much on language, they were more inclined to not get along well in the classroom. That was just amazing to me. Because socially, you think girls are ahead of boys at that age. But girls would hoard materials. Girls would try to get in the middle of somebody else that was trying to cop a friend of theirs. Girls just socially were having more trouble in the classroom because they did not have language to rely on. So all of our observations just, I was just really floored by that one. So why did boys get along better? Well, boys didn't necessarily rely so much on language. Boys relied more on if somebody was doing something that they didn't like.